beat. I'll be your guide tonight through this roaring review of teal tinted triumphs, trials, and tall tales. But I never strut solo. To my left, or maybe on my right, depending on how you look at the screen, sporting that wide grin and wider resume, the former wide receiver who once turned Mansfield University into a matinee slapstick reel. The man who could catch a cannonball and still tip his fedora. Ladies and gents, give a razzle dazzle welcome to TD. And on the other side of the studio, running the rails of reason and rhythm, the voice smooth as a Sunday saxophone, the oracle of observation, the keeper of the Chanticleer Chronicle, it's none other than Info Joe. He's seen more gridiron glory than a leather helmet has laces. So polish the shoes, loosen the tie, kick back. It's like a speakeasy Saturday because we're about to give you the alliteration, hyperbole, and downright hullabaloo you've come to expect. This is the strut. And folks, we're just getting strut.
The Duke of Diction.
Do you want that to say that on your screen there, Joe? I could fix that for you.
No, I'm talking that. That's how you described yourself. That was one of the lines. I think you should change that on yours right there. Honestly,
I still like Dr. Benson's name he gave me, Bard
the
of Brooks,
Bard of
because
Brooks.
I like the alliteration. I like all that. So, and I noticed yesterday being Giving Teal Tuesday, someone tweeted out that Dr. Benson actually donated some money to men's golf and then 1954 Society or something like that. So, Dr. Benson, even though he's at West Virginia, still contributing to the Chanticleer cause. I thought that was pretty cool to see.
It's a great day of shot giving too. I mean, what was it, 500,000 total? Is that
Mm-hmm.
what it wound up being? That's phenomenal. You know,
And I think I heard that if they got like the 500,000 level, TD was going to match that gift.
Yeah, with about
yeah,
six less
I heard
zeros.
that too somewhere. Where did I? Oh, I got it somewhere here.
Yeah. I got that too with no. Uh, I give a lot of my time and talent to talking, and my money goes to tickets and parking and events and so forth and so on. So um, I got ways
That's
that
where
I
the
give.
treasure winds up.
Yeah, that the treasure winds up in other places. I thank God for people who have the ability to expend some additional treasure. Uh, I do not have the current bandwidth to dive in there and bring out more. Um, I mean, somebody's got to buy the science kit for the alchemy, right? That we put on this show.
The
There it is.
alchemy. There we go. The alchemy. There we
You
go.
know, I think TD just said something, Joe, that we've thought for a long time now. TD just said time, talent, and talking. That's a
Somebody's got to do
confession.
it, man.
That part is correct. That is
That might be the title of the show tonight: time, talent, and talking.
well. We. I think it's time to
Actually,
get to it.
it's kind of
I
that.
mean,
It kind of is, man. It kind of is. So,
because
Well,
we got Teagan here. We got Teagan,
we
right?
got
So
time,
she's ready
talent,
to.
talking, and Teagan tonight.
There you go. No, can't have better alliteration
Look
than
at
that, right?
that.
It's like we wrote it or something. Hey, Teagan, welcome in.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
absolutely, absolutely.
I got to congratulate you first because we tweeted out we invited you and Brandon Dunn. You won the face off. Brandon had to send me a DM saying he couldn't make it and had some reason. I know he listens and he might be listening right now. So Teagan, congratulations. You won the Sportscaster face off. It was the first annual.
Thank you. Thank you. I will say I have a little bit of an advantage. I'm on vacation right now. I'm actually joining from Syracuse. So, I'm glad to take the time to do it, though. I know he's very busy with signing day and everything else going on.
It's good to have you, Teagan. We've been wanting to
Yes,
get you on for a
absolutely,
while.
absolutely. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us
So
all the way from up north in New
yeah,
York. That's
she
It's
great.
was
true. It's true.
she was not happy with either was it men's basketball or foot. That
It
you were not
yeah, it was
happy
football.
recently. Yeah,
Yeah. Syracuse getting a solid 3 wins this year on the gridiron. Really tough season to watch, but I take satisfaction in the fact that our last win of the season was against Clemson. So that was super cool for me. I know I covered Clemson down there and everything, but I mean, I grew up here, just part of that rivalry. So, but yeah, men's basketball last night got a huge win against Tennessee. Students stormed the court, so that was super cool.
A lot of
What's it
orange
like?
in that
What's it
building.
like in the Carrier Dome? I still call it the Carrier Dome. What's it like to see a game? That looks like a neat place to take in a game.
Yeah, I mean, I love the dome. It's called the JMA Wireless Dome now, but it's still the
Yeah,
Carrier Dome to everybody.
right.
I mean, I grew up spoiled in the fact that I didn't have to worry about weather with any of the games. So, like
Hmm.
the ULM game with Coastal that we covered at one point this season, that weather was miserable. Like standing outside shooting that game with the rain coming sideways and the cold and the winds and everything like that. But yeah, the dome gets so loud. I mean, there was a time that we caused the most false starts in the conference just because of the way the sound reverberates in there. So it's just such a unique atmosphere.
So in
The
your time
ULM
you've been
game. That was
covering,
the.
go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I was gonna say the ULM game was the emergence of Collier. That was the
Yes.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
the beginning of the good part of the season.
Exactly. Yeah,
You
that was the
know.
little lifeline there for Tim Beck that lasted about as long as it could.
Yeah,
And then on the other side of that, we did that. We just went. We were going up. It was great, and then as soon as Collier's knee hit the turf at down there in Statesboro,
so did our season.
so did
Yeah.
our season. It also
Yeah, I mean,
went face first in
that
the turf.
the slip there, or the fall and the hit that he took in that game, like I was there like watching it in person. It didn't look like anything in the moment. It was like, oh, he's gone down, and then all of a sudden he can't get back up, and I was like, oh, this is the beginning of the end, isn't it? And we just got another beginning again, like 2-3 games ago. So yeah, super sad for him. I really, I like all of his posts on Twitter. I like that he keeps everybody updated and still gets involved in Teal Nation that way. So yeah, but I mean, a lifeline for Tim Beck nonetheless, just having him step up that way.
Yeah, I mean, like it was middle of the season, and here comes Samari Collier. Something we've been talking about here, Teagan, throughout the season was, we saw Morris, we saw, Tad Hudson, and I think, Joe, you were the first one to say it. Why not let's see Collier instead of making him on 2nd and 22 gain 1 yard on a quarterback sneak or something? Joe was advocating for Samari Collier at the beginning of the season almost. So
Well, we heard about his arm talent. I mean, we heard. I mean, he's a JUCO national champ. I mean, he came with some cred, right? I mean, and when we kind of got off to, got off to the slow start that we did offensively. It's kind of like something's got to have to give, and your key guy's a quarterback, so.
Yeah, I mean, I wondered constantly throughout the season why Beck wasn't, just trying to pull somebody else, try something else, throw Samari in for the heck of it. Syracuse, the last 2 games, they started a freshman lacrosse player who they got on the team, and it's like, well, let's just try this. It didn't work out, but they just kept trying. So I don't know why Samari didn't go in at all. I really liked what I had seen from him from his JUCO time, because there were clips all over Twitter when he was coming to Coastal. So it just never really made any sense to me that Beck didn't say, all right, let's just try Samari. Like, let's try something else.
Oh, trust me, I was game 3. I don't even know if we got to game 3, boys. Teagues, I don't even know if we got to game 3. I think it was the 13-0, barn burner versus Charleston Southern that I got on the pod Sunday night and was like, can we throw him in for a series? Because it can't be any less productive. Then we went to East Carolina, East Carolina 38-0, not to review the entire season. And these boys can tell you, I about had an absolute aneurysm on here. I mean, I kept saying, I don't understand. We've tried everybody else. What is the problem? The dude could throw a football through a car wash and not get it wet. Junior college All-American, national champion.
Yeah.
230 pounds. He runs like a 4.5 40. I said, if anything, he'll give up less TFLs. He'll give up less negative. And literally in the 4 games he was in, he accounted for, we figured this out. I know you follow the show. 45% of the offense this year, he accumulated in 4 games. Bananas.
I mean, it's insane. It's not surprising in any sense, but yeah, I mean that Charleston Southern game was especially painful to just kind of sit there and watch it all go down, because I think at that point Charleston Southern was on an 11-game losing streak. They had never beat an FBS team. There were just like a whole bunch of stats. We're going into it. You're like, okay, super easy dub. Like we'll go Coastal will go out there, they'll get this done. And then I'm standing there and I'm like, what in the world are we doing? Like we can't make anything happen right now against this 11-game losing streak team. What are we doing?
Yeah. There was a lot of people asking that question from the stands.
Yeah.
Oh, you could hear it.
Yeah.
A little more colorful language they were asking it though.
Just a little things I can't say on TV, you know?
So Teagan, what are your thoughts? Well, go ahead, Chill. I know you've been waiting to get in here on this thing. Go ahead, Chill.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to ask Teagan your thoughts on what happened Sunday, and just anything that any opinion that you might have on where Coastal goes from here.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too surprised, obviously. I really think this would have happened at some point earlier in the season if Samari had not gone in and performed the way he had. Like I said, that was a lifeline for Tim Beck. It was the reason
100%
that he still had that job. Yeah, so, I mean... And the whole aspect, I don't know if you guys have talked about it on the show. I did not get to hear your latest episode, but the buyout aspect, just the fact that it was going to go up to $2 million on December 31st, whereas right now it was that 1.5, 1.7 million buyout. And this was just the moment. If you didn't want to pay as much money to Beck, if you didn't want to do that, then that was your time. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even think. The initial 5-year contract, I don't even think that was a correct amount of time. Like if you're in the current landscape of college football where you see other universities, firing coaches after 2-3 years, why are we signing a 5-year contract with a guy? So that was something interesting too. But I mean, it was kind of a scramble from back here in Syracuse, just that going on. And I was like, and I am 800 miles away. So, but I had one of our reporters go out and talk to some people, and I had thought about some of the tweets I had seen the day before, and just like who she could talk to and everything. So, yeah, I mean, as for the search from here, I mean, I think it's a little bit of everywhere at the moment, from everything I've seen on Twitter, everything I've heard from people. I think, of course, there's the aspect where Chance Miller has the South Carolina connection. I've heard some inklings of him pulling somebody with connections from there. But at the same time, I think that this should be done in a national search kind of way. Bring in somebody who has head coaching experience. That was something that Beck lacked. It was his first time doing that. So, I mean, I'm just curious from you guys, like what you're hearing from fans and kind of what they want to see, what you guys want to see in a coach.
Chili put a great poll out for the pod this week. And it's interesting, Teagues, to listen to. We gave fans what they were looking for. Chill, I know he's probably going to pull it up. So I'm trying to give him some time.
Up right now.
And so, Teagues, we gave them, give us one word. Like we gave them options and then other, right? To write in the one word that they were looking for. And a lot of it was culture. And I'm going to let, Chili get into it. But a lot of it was culture. And I wanted to wait to the pod to ask, we need to define what culture is, right? Like, what do we define as culture at Coastal? Because there's a fit for Coastal. That's not a fit for South Carolina. That's not a fit for Syracuse. That's not a fit for, Northwestern or Michigan State. There's not a fit for Mercer. There's not a fit for Ole Miss or LSU. I say all those because there's a fit for everywhere, right? And I use some of those because there's coaching decisions and vacillations between what's going on right now. Interesting enough, before we came on the air, the head coach at Kansas State announced his retirement. Now that opportunity is out there on the wire. Exactly. And so Kleiman's now, and that's a great place to go work too. I mean, if you're looking to get into a university that cares about football, but cares for the right reasons, K-State's a great place. And I know I'm a Coastal guy, but it's a good profile job. But Chilling out, I don't know if you had enough time, but you've got it pulled up. Some of the one word, some of the options. We put out a couple survey questions on the pod.
Yeah, so a couple of them. The first one I put out was the next CCU head coach should be blank minded. It was offense or defense. 78% wanted offense. The next poll I put out was the next head coach should be a blank centered coach. Culture, recruiting, development. 50 votes on that. 52% of the people voted said they wanted culture. Recruiting and development came in second and third. There was a one poll that duplicated. The next head coach should be, your options were young, up and coming, a P4 coordinator, former P4 head coach, or an FCS head coach. In that one poll, the first one, 38% wanted a young, up and coming coach, but then when I accidentally duplicated it, 70% wanted a young and up and coming coach. There was another one I put out that was kind of like a word cloud, and I just asked everybody to kind of reply and say, what's one word that describes what you're looking for in the next head coach? And I think this is some really good food for thought for conversation's sake. Um, it will make like the biggest word, the most popular word, the biggest one on the screen. And Joe, your favorite word, culture, was the biggest one, but the second most popular word was hungry. And we also saw words like experience, winner, rising. I like the word dog. Somebody putting that one in there.
Yeah.
There's one person, I can't remember who it is, guys. Maybe you can recall it from X, that is nothing but a fan of Mike Gundy.
Oh, I
The
know the account that you're talking about
Yeah.
because they've been posting constantly. Yes, yeah.
And his response was mullet.
Mullet.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Okay.
So we've got those out there, and I think it's just really cool just to kind of see what everybody's thinking. Because Teagan, one thing we like doing here after games, win or loss, is just taking the temperature of the fan base. How do you feel? And we're kind of doing that with these polls here about the next head coach. It seems like they want somebody who's a energetic, culture building, offensively minded coach. That's what
Mm-hmm.
the tea leaves are reading for us right now. And, maybe that's what, Chance has his eye on also. But I think that's kind of cool to just to kind of throw out, just to kind of, for all four of us to kind of ponder here right now in a second is, who is that person who fits that profile?
Yeah, I mean it's the great question. It's trying to like Frankenstein a coach together, create the most perfect one based off of what the fans are saying. And yeah, I know that in the poll you posted just about the minded type of coach, I voted offense on that. And yeah, I'm really not surprised to see the overwhelming majority say that, just because, after going through this season and just sitting there a lot of these games, especially those last 3 games, and just saying, what are we doing on this side of the ball, and what was this whole plan that Tim Beck brought in? What was this plan that he brought in with Hollingshead and this supposed
Mm-hmm.
air raid offense that he talked all about? So yeah, I mean that's a big thing. And then yeah, the recruiting aspect, I'm kind of curious on your guys' thoughts on this, because I saw a tweet earlier and I wish I could remember who posted it, but they were talking about kind of the impact of Scott Aligo on this year and like his
Mm-hmm.
role in the recruiting class, and just how different it's going to be for Coastal next year, whether it had been with or without Tim Beck, just based off of the work and the money that Coastal put in to NIL and to that GM position. Because the quarterback that's coming in, Osiris, still showing his commitment to Coastal even
Mm-hmm.
without Tim Beck. So yeah, just curious on your guys' thoughts on Aligo and kind of that recruiting aspect with NIL.
Joe we had him on the pod. It was a great interview, man. Just insight that he gave us. I know, Joe, that this was something top of mind that he's talked about before, is that GM role prior to getting Scott here, and how much impact. And we're going to see that potentially through this class, early signing and next. So
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the recruiting aspect of this, I thought it was interesting that we kept Lopez around.
Yeah.
shout out to Chance Miller on that. You saw that, right?
Good job.
Shout out to Chance Miller.
I think Chance has a lot to do with some of these kids. Not, now we did lose a couple, and we probably will lose a couple to the portal coming up. But that's just the way of the world. That's just kind of how it is. I mean, I'm talking about current players too, not necessarily obviously the ones that signed today. But I mean, I think Chance reached out to some of these guys, and I think Scott Aligo had a lot to do with his role, and more of a, is it more important to have that GM now than it necessarily is to have that head coach in place? And I think maybe we saw some of that today. I want to go back though real quick to what TD you were mentioning about culture. What is culture and what it looks like? That's the biggest thing to me in terms of what happens going forward. And I think, and I wrote about this. I've got a blog posted at strutpodcast.com, and I wrote about some of this today. But I mean, the culture it's kind of like those things. One of those things that it's hard to define, but you know it when you see it, right? I mean, Jamie Chadwell brought culture to this program. He won because of the culture that was here. And I know that we got a lot of fans out there that love to rag and run him down, but there's no denying what he did. I think the next coach has got to have some sort of tie maybe to this part of the region, this part of the country, if not whatever. I mean, Tim Beck didn't really have that. And the next coach needs to have a G5 or some sort of background at a lower level, perhaps, to understand what it is a G5 has to deal with. You know, South Carolina doesn't have to deal with it. Clemson doesn't have to deal with it, but we do, right? Having to do a lot of times having to do more with less. Okay, you're a P5, P4 guy, whatever they're calling it these days. You come in here, you look around, you're like, man, I don't have what I used to have, and I don't have 80,000 people showing up just because. You know, you need somebody who has experience dealing with that kind of stuff to develop that culture, right? Getting everybody on the same page, getting everybody connected in a positive way, which I didn't see in the last 3 seasons. I mean, I just didn't, and it was clear as a bell to me on the field with the way this team, you know, just didn't perform, particularly in games where they got behind. You know, I mean, rarely, only when Collier came on the scene did we actually get behind in a game and come back. You know, we showed some fight and we showed some character. You know, this team showed that culture. And then when he left, that was, you know, he went down. That was all she wrote. But I mean, culture is such a huge part of this thing. It's so big. I mean, because you're not going to, any organization that you have, you know, in the news business, in the newsroom, if you don't have culture with people in there, it's going to be a you know what show, right?
Yep. Yeah.
In anything. You got to have people working together, positively connected, you know, and have that positive reinforcement and have everybody, you know, for the same goal, right? And that's just kind of, you know, the whole culture piece. And people talk about, well, you can't have culture because your roster turns over. I don't believe that for half a second. I don't believe that. You get people. That's a narrative I think coaches kind of put out there when their lives got a little more difficult. Now it is tougher with NIL and portal. I get all that. It's tougher to try to develop that and keep it, but you can do it. It can be done, and you got to figure it out. You got to get it done.
Yeah.
Period. So,
Joe, I would add too, prior to Jamie, Moglia had a culture, right? He had a very business-like culture, almost like
when we were FCS, yes.
He had a very business-like culture.
It kind of
It needed to change. I think
it needed to change. I mean, and
he called that, right? He even said that. That's why he brought Jamie in.
That's why he stepped down. I mean,
he realized that he needed to do something different, right?
Right.
And kudos for Joe for recognizing that. And prior to that, when I played for Coach Bennett, there was a culture.
Yes,
those guys, and then that culture waned a little bit. And I think too, Joe, you were on Twitter about this with some fans. Dude, if we get somebody here that's a Bob Chesney, a Jamie Chadwell-esque, 3 to 4 years, and they absolutely toe the line, hold the culture to Coastal, and give the program time. And I mentioned this, Teagues, on Sunday, what baseball now has, right? What soccer could have with a Kyle Rush if he ever comes back. Not Kyle Rush. God, I might have said Kyle Rush, thinking of the media guy. Good Lord.
He might do a good job, T.
Yeah.
He's on the radio, man.
Yeah, he's on the radio, man.
Coach soccer.
Good Lord. Kyle, I can see Kyle right now. Kyle went to school when I was there. But Kyle, who is down in Florida coaching, if he ever comes back home to coach at Coastal, right? And I bring this up is our program is only 22 years young, whereas baseball's been around since the inception of us at the junior college. Yeah. And so I bring that up as Kevin Schnall, Matt Schilling, Oxendine, and others on that staff. People want to elevate McCall and Carter and Shrimp up real fast, which, by the way, heads up, don't be alarmed if at some point you get some notice or information about some staff changes and those guys get elevated into roles. Little teaser there. So
look at that.
Yeah. And shocker. But I'll offer all this is everybody's had their unique culture, and we have to be okay with somebody coming here for 4 years and being true to Coastal and being a fit for Coastal and understanding that their culture may grow out of culture or Coastal and into a larger role. And that's okay. And that's okay, right? Until we get enough Coastal guys in the profession that one day, and this came up, and there was some pressure on Perry with this. And I played with Perry, and Perry's a good, he's a friend of mine, he's a teammate of mine. Joe and I still talk to him still. And I think Joe would agree. There was a lot of pressure on Perry, which I think he did a good job overall. I think now we know some of the challenges behind the door.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to say. That there was never any settled ground underneath what Perry was doing offensively. And I think now we can see that. Point is, we got to find a coastal fit culture guy that we know is going to be here 3 or 4 years, does a great job and moves on until one day a coastal guy potentially could come back and lead the program like a Kevin Schnall, right? Like a Gilmore or like the coach at Louisiana, right? I mean, as bad or good as the seasons they have, and sometimes they get frustrated with him, he's still a Louisiana guy, which gives him a little more runway down there, right? And good, bad, or indifferent, until you can get some of those folks in, if that's what's best for the program, because it may not be what's best for the program.
Right.
There are some names being tossed out there that I know that we want to talk about, not necessarily directly, but there's a profile out there that I know for a fact, I know on good credit, I know the profile is somebody with a head coaching, young, energetic, which is interesting because these surveys that we're getting back through the pod, as I put a bow on this, is it's some of the profile that's being looked at. So
that's interesting.
And somebody who's a communicator and get out in the community too. I mean, that's somebody that will get out and talk to people.
Got to have a little David Bennett, a little Joe Mowgli, a little Jamie Chapman.
Jamie would do that.
A little bit of it all.
A little bit of it all.
Jamie would do that. You got to get out there and connect, because G5s, you got to go out and talk to people. People just don't show up. You got to go out and talk to them.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see more involvement in the community, just because I mean, it just felt like the only place I ever saw Tim Beck was in those press conferences. Like every once in a while, like some random event that I was at where it was like advertised that he was going to be there. But like, I want to see a coach involved in his community. I want to see him involving the players in the community, because Conway is such a passionate area. And yes, we can talk all about the NIL deals with local businesses and everything like that and say that's partly getting out in the community, but it's not. You want to see people show up. You want to see your coach be an example of showing up. I mean, one of my favorite coaches, honestly, at Coastal that does that, not to favoritize him or anything, but I mean, Pedersen is always out and about doing a bunch of stuff, always connecting with people. If somebody runs into him, he's chatting with them. I want to see something like that.
Kevin Schnall's that way. Coach Gray's that way. There's a lot of other coaches that way as well. I talked directly to Chance about this. I will say this on the Sunday. I had about 15 minutes on the phone as being a former player and someone, we got a little bit of a pulse on it. You got to have somebody who can go to a black tie event, but also go eat biscuits and bacon too. Right. Yeah. And like you I mean, you got to be able to do both, right? You got to be able to, your point, go talk football, right? But you got to be able to also go have a biscuit and bacon and eggs with somebody and have that local feel and get out. And I look, for all things that Joe Mowgli was a $150 million man, I said this last time on Sunday, he still went out and did not a lot, not as much as Coach Bennett did, but more than people realized. He would get out and go do some things. And Jamie was good about doing some things like that. The next person's got to understand. They got to embrace from the beach to the PD to the border belt, down the coast as far as they can. They've got to embrace this entire area to that point and get out and do that. And that's where the profile comes in. I find it interesting that the profile for the role that is kind of the 10 ring or 9 ring for this candidate is not far off, if not on target with what our fans are looking for. And I think, we have a high level of confidence in what Chance is going to do. I mean, hearing some of the names that potentially, that some of the names are just being tossed out there, right? I'd like to say there's 4 names I know for a fact that are not, they're not on the radar.
Yeah.
There are a couple names out there that are on the radar.
There's some names in the YouTube chat right now too, so it's kind of funny seeing what they're throwing out as far as who people are watching right now are saying. I can read a few if you'd like to hear what they're saying.
Let's read a few,
Let's
man.
do it.
So we've got 2 posts from a guy named 989 Sports, and he said his first comment was that Kevin Cahill from Lehigh, and then he follows that up with Hugh Freeze. with a question
No.
mark.
Absolutely
And
not.
TD's the
Sorry.
assistant athletic director. He's just shooting them down, Joe and
No.
Teagan, as we call them out.
No, we're not getting any retreads here. No retreads.
Kenny Cyrus, 3065 says, Chip Kelly or Mike Gundy?
Well, of course, Mike. Is this the Mike Gundy propaganda guy?
I don't know if this is the same guy or not, but I think there's more than one Mike Gundy guy, only because Mike Gundy has a magnificent mullet.
Sure.
And but people don't understand something. He's carved out a way of life. If you ever get a chance, there's a couple shows on Mike Gundy, and like he's kind of he's an Oklahoma, North Texas guy, by the way. Like he's got a farm out there. He loves to hunt. He loves cattle. Like seriously, he's got like a 50 to 100 acre spread out there. That ain't something you just up and leave for a little while, right? And so he's kind of carved out a way of life. But Kevin Cahill at Lehigh, 1 win, 9 wins, 12-0. That's a name, right? Beard at Missouri State's a name that keeps getting tossed out. Jacobs at Mercer keeps getting tossed out. Tim Beck, how funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna bring him up. Yeah,
keeps getting tossed out. That ain't gonna happen, man. They're right in the middle of it right now.
They're in the middle of something important.
They're in the middle of something right now. They're about to sue the NCAA because they're not in the playoff, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
Then what happens? There's a couple universities in transition. There's a couple programs. And this is something I'm gonna throw out there, and I'd like to get yours and Joe's and Chili. Look, some of these transitions where like K-State now, South Florida, and others, Northwestern, there's some programs out there that you may have an OC that could be of a viable candidate profile for us, right? Because there's transition happening with these programs, and they may not go to these. They may not follow their head ball coach where they're going for one reason or another. It may be time for them to, cut the umbilical cord and go do something else. And so,
we also got to mention here in the chat about Chennis Berry from SC State, Teagan.
Yeah.
What do you think about him?
It's interesting because I on the Sports Daily talk show that we do, it's with anchors from all across the state. And we talk about SC State a lot. So I've seen a lot of Chennis Berry clips and just interviews with him. That is one passionate dude. I will say that. Like his speeches and advice to his players, like I could run through a wall after hearing that. I don't know if he's necessarily the guy for Coastal. I think leave him for a few more years at that level and he might become a really kind of elite candidate for a school like Coastal, but I don't think now is the time. Otherwise, I think we're going to be in another just like growing pains period of, 6 wins and then maybe we get lucky and we get 8. But I just don't think he's ready for that level yet.
So let me ask you a question, Teagan. You going to Syracuse and then moving down here and working here, as a person who is not from here originally, and we're talking about culture a whole heck of a lot when it comes to Coastal football, what's something that you have noticed Coastal's culture might need an injection of being an outsider looking? Because the three of us have been there since day one. So what's something that somebody like you who's on the outside or came in from the outside noticing about culture that Coastal might need?
Honestly, I think it's kind of what I talked about earlier, just that community involvement. Because when I moved to, Conway, Myrtle Beach area, the first thing I wanted to do as, a public kind of personality and a person that people were going to see, I wanted to be somebody that like wasn't just the person you saw on a screen. Like if you walked up to me in the grocery store, I will have a full conversation with you. I wanted to get involved in like any community activities. That's why I started doing theater and singing and pageants and like all my fun little side hustles that I continue to rack up. So, Fran Brown is a prime example here at Syracuse. He is constantly getting involved with the inner city of Syracuse, which is a place that honestly, like a lot of former coaches didn't really want to visit. The poverty rate in Syracuse is the second highest for children in the country, I believe. And he's just constantly getting his players out there and talking to kids and getting involved. And like I've seen clips of them just showing up at basketball courts and just like bawling out with the kids in the inner city. Like I want to see those random acts of just like showing up. I don't want to see any advertisement for it at first. I want to see that community involvement more than anything else. Like, obviously, I want the wins on the gridiron, and I want to actually have highlights for TV to talk about. But,
It does help.
it's just, it would be so great to see the community more connected because it's such a great community. And like coming into it, I felt like welcomed. And that was something I was really nervous about, moving, 15 hours away from home. So, yeah.
And I think the fact too that with and I'm we're kind of retracing steps with Beck. I mean they closed ranks over there to the point where you didn't know anything. I mean it was like and I get you're not going to go out and show your game plans to random fans and you're not going to put them out there for the whole world to see. But I mean it was just to even have some sort of something going on, like a spring game for the fans kind of thing.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah, that's a great
that's
example.
such an easy thing
Yep.
to do. It's an easy thing to do, and it's like low hanging fruit. You can have and it doesn't necessarily have to be a spring game. Just have people come out and do stuff, and meet the coaches, and coaches get out and talk to people, and it's like these guys just they didn't you've got to do that here. You've got to do that. I mean, build those connections again because you want people to show up at these games. I mean, they're not just coming out just because. They just aren't. And hopefully, the again we get back to the criteria of who Chance may be looking at and who the next guy is going to be. Hopefully that's going to be the thing. You talked about Chennis Berry. I live here in the Midlands, and so I do see a lot of the local news coverage. This guy won. I mean, he won big at Benedict. I mean, he turned them into a winner in a hurry, and now he's at SC State doing the same thing. But again, I mean, is now the right time? I don't know. We'll see on him, but he's certainly somebody to keep an eye on. Somebody who can coach him up and win games.
TD, we'll give you the last question, then we're going to let Teagan go.
Over the course of this season, what was a couple things that you had to report on or you had to watch that just took you for a surprise or shocked you, but considering you've covered the team now 3 years or 2?
3 years. Yeah, I've been here all years of Beck's
Of Beck, that's right. So you never got to see under Jamie Chadwell.
No.
What are some of the things this year that just Teagues that you were just like, what?
I mean, the biggest one that comes to mind is just how many times Beck said back to the drawing board. Like over and over and over again. Like
we had to run a joke about that on here, by the way.
Oh my gosh. It was just ridiculous. Like, you know what? The first time I'm like, all right, coaches talk. Got it. Most of what you say is coaches talk anyway, because that's just the type of coach he's always been. It's just like you get what you get what you expect. So I mean that was the biggest thing. Other than that, I mean it was just the constant like decision making that I was questioning. Like, we talked about the quarterbacks earlier. That was just my biggest thing. And, I said at one point when I was covering them this year, Beck has never been a quarterback monogamist. Like, he doesn't stick with, like, he is a quarterback monogamist. Let me switch that up. But, like, it was just that he just kept with the same guy and not giving a chance to anybody else. Like, why can't we just throw someone in for a couple snaps? We've had Tad Hudson there. We're passing it off. We're running it up the middle. What a surprise. Oh my gosh, we did that again. Fantastic. So, I mean, honestly, those two things, just the decision making, the back to the drawing board. Nothing about that man really surprised me too much after covering, his entire tenure there. He was a pretty predictable guy, I'd say.
I think you nailed it.
It's interesting that was some of the feedback and assessment you just gave as we wrap it up is interesting how that was why Collier, I think, was so successful in that offense was because he was unpredictable.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what we've talked about at length here. It created an 11-on-11 game, whereas before with the other quarterbacks, it was 11 on 10. And it forced the opposing defensive staff, and more so the opposing offensive staff, like it was when McCall and others with Jared Guess under Jamie Chadwell, and even when Mowgli was coaching, right? You knew you had to go out and score points. We've talked about this. We've gone back even since when I played. You had to go out and score points against Coastal because they were going to go score points.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case for most of Tim Beck's career here. And there were moments when those 4 games happened for 40 points or more, you saw some things happening that forced the opposing teams to do some things out of character. And as soon as we lost him, it reverted right back.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring up, a game from last season, or from my first season here. It was the ODU game. It was at ODU. It was Ethan Vasco's first time starting, and that was one of 2 games I can think of where Coastal just came from behind and surprised everybody and won that. And honestly, it was because of Ethan Vasco's decision making. It was the fact that he was unpredictable. Like,
That's right.
that is the only other game besides that ULM game with Samari Collier where I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going to happen next. This can work out really well for Coastal.
And would you say the highlight was this whole thing was going to Hawaii, the Hawaii Bowl?
Oh yeah, I mean, like that was my very first season. Here it was my first job out of college. Started the year at UCLA, ended the year in Hawaii. So I mean that was fantastic.
That was the.
You got your flyer miles
for me to wrap it up too. So that was a great trip.
Teagan, before we let you go, we have one last order of business. Joe, can you get the?
Yes!
So Teagan.
Yes.
I won it from Joe this year.
I finished second the last 2 years, by the way. I just want to duly noted for the record.
Oh no,
I came up a game short this year, and a game short last year.
You were a game short, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to say goodbye.
Oh my god.
I'm so sad.
That that I am so glad that this tradition has started and lived on. I cannot wait to see it continue on. And you know what? Maybe next year is your year. Maybe.
Oh man, I've already got a spot for it. Right there.
God, I think the Octopus should have its own Instagram account.
That would be cool. That add it as a guest picker or something.
You guys have to get a hat for him though. Like make a mini strap hat.
Joe's got a hat.
So check out what Joe had. This is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I had a little Bucky's hat that I right up here on my desk. I kind of had him looking like that for the longest time, but the hat's gonna stay with me.
So I'll add something to it while I have it, Joe, and then as long as I keep it, I'll have the hat. And TD, if you get it from me or Joe gets it back from me one day, you can add your own little hat to it.
I may actually, I've got like a college game day helmet from when we hosted game day at the house. I may try to get the actual octopus head in the helmet.
Okay.
If that's even possible. If that's even remotely possible. But
we're sitting here.
I know, Joe. We appreciate you joining us on vacation.
Of course.
Enjoy Syracuse. I hope it's not too cold while you're on vacation.
We already got a blizzard. It's fine.
You're just brushing the blizzard off.
Yeah, exactly. It's a normal day. It's a Tuesday,
Oof.
Teagan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you.
Yep. Safe travels home. Appreciate
it.
Thank you. We'll get you back on near baseball season and into basketball. So.
Love it. Bye, guys.
See you later.
Thanks, Teagan.
I find it interesting as she transitions off is some of the same perspective that she has, right? That's the first time we've directly talked to her about the program. And it's interesting that she doesn't have any prejudice with Chadwell, Moglia, and Bennett, right? So that's why I wanted to ask that question was, what are some of the things that were eye-popping to her? What are some things that made her go, huh? Because it would be very unprejudiced, right? She didn't have the prior experiences that three of us have had, and in the manner, degree, or optic that we've had them. It's very fascinating that some of the same things that she said, his inability to move on from a quarterback and decision-making overall, the same things that we were on here in our own way talking about. And again, I think it's one of the last episodes that you'll hear us kind of lament about it. we're going to move on from this because it's going to be about the next coach. But
yeah, I think from here we need to put a bow on all of that and just.
it's all about windshield on this point. Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
yeah.
But
You know what was cool, Joe and TD, that it was I thought it was a cool perspective bringing somebody like her on to kind of do a season wrap up as well, because we kind of went through some big games and some big moments.
we have to do
And
that
her
next year.
perspective as a reporter that's on the sidelines a whole lot and being down on the field like that, you only get so much when we're in the box covering for games. She's down on the field, talking to people and that kind of thing. And I think that's just kind of cool. Maybe bring her in from now on, maybe into
Buddy,
the
I
season
am
possibly.
recording. So
TD did not mute his mic well at all, Joe.
I tell you what, after that, I need something to drink after that, Chili. What would you suggest after all that? What I just
Joe, Savannah Sweet Tea Company. TD, you might want to get a swig of this while you're yelling at people. Low
my
country
son is
born,
and maybe
low
put
country
something
made.
in it,
Give your
too.
son some sweet peach or unsweetened tea. It's like 9:30, so maybe give him some unsweetened tea.
I will give him some
It's
unsweetened tea.
brewed hot with pure cane sugar, just like Mama made it. Visit savsweetteaco.com. And TD, when you order for your kid, order code SHOTS UP for 10% off your order.
Paxton walked right up to the Google Home Hub and started asking it a question. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Next time, let him go. I want to hear what he's got to say. Joe, what do you think about that?
Just to revisit something that she mentioned, and I made a note to make to comment on it. She mentioned the original contract that Bet got, and jeez, I wanted to say, no kidding, Teagan, no kidding. I mean that whole man, there were just so many things that needed some oversight on that. I mean, there were some people that needed to step in on that. I mean, there was, just a lot of bad decisions. Let's just put it that way. A lot of bad decisions, and hopefully now as we look through the windshield, those decisions, we're not gonna that won't happen again. So.
Joe, I like that idea of looking through the windshield, because as we transition to the next thing, which is talking about signing day, that's kind of our way to look ahead. And we signed 9 today. I'll go through and just kind of mention their names and talk about positions, height, weight, where they're from. And if you guys have any comments about any of the ones I go through, let me get through the list and then we can kind of chat about them. I do have there's a press release on GoCCUSports.com, which I'm going to kind of skim through. Excuse me. First off, maybe the biggest name was Osiris Lopez, quarterback out of Leominster, Massachusetts, 6 feet, 180 pounds. Jaden Johnson, wide receiver out of Texas City, Texas, 6'2", 160. Nasir Jones, offensive lineman out of Cedartown, Georgia, 6'4", 301. Gabe Jones, offensive lineman out of Locust Grove, Georgia, 6'3", 296. From Ellington, Florida, Stephan Aristil, I said that wrong, Aristil, offensive lineman, 6'4", 360. We got some big old boys, guys. Romello Patterson, linebacker out of Florence, went to West Florence High School, 6'2", 212. Garrett Orgas, linebacker, 6'4", 197 out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. Zeke Marshall, 6'4", 185 out of Anderson, South Carolina. TD Joe, he's listed as an SAF. Is that like a athlete kind of position now? Is that what they're doing with
safety, that? DB, safety.
Okay.
DB.
Lastly, and my favorite name out of all of them here, because y'all know how I like names, we've got Michael Knight, the Knight Rider. Corner out of McDonough, Georgia, 6'2", 170. Guys, I can already tell you, if he starts playing well, the memes are going to be flying off the Strut Podcast Twitter handle.
Dude, he's got a
I can still remember that theme song, man, from Knight Rider. Oh, Kit. William Daniels is the voice of Kit. Man, that was a great show. Loved it.
Man, he's got to come out to that. So he's got to come out to that. Little Knight Rider action, maybe the pregame.
That was cool. I would love that show as a kid. I love that show
too. In the 80s, man, it didn't get any better than 80s TV. Hated for
our
men. Hey, huh?
There was always a great car in the great shows.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, for men's basketball, they just lost it overtime at Upstate, for Pete's sake. They had a 13-point lead when I tuned in. Maybe I should have turned it back off.
I had it on
That
too.
was bad. That was bad luck.
I think we were up 19-2 at one point, were we not?
We'd lose it in overtime, 85-78.
God dog it.
We don't play
Petey,
well against Upstate.
Petey, your thoughts on signing day?
I thought you brought up a point to get back to the reality landscape of truly what happened. I think Chance getting engaged with the recruitment, I don't think that was a coded text. I think that was serious from Osiris, right? He was one that our staff was high on, from my understanding, and high on. Like, kid could be a playmaker, right? We don't know what you get until you get it here, right? And you get bigger, faster, stronger coming at you from every angle. But this kid had the savvy, the moxie, the talent that they were looking for. And so we talk about culture. I don't know if he's the right culture guy for us. I've never met the kid. I couldn't, but the fact that he tweeted at Chance Miller saying, I trust Chance Miller. That tells me that Chance got involved to some degree, right, on this early signing day. Also, too, Scott, your line there was so poignant. I think having Scott in this role, this GM role, was able to, I don't want to say salvage anything, but keep things progressing forward, right? We may have lost 3 or 4 recruits we didn't sign, but we didn't lose the entire class. And we may not have a bunch of guys hitting the portal. We're going to have some guys hit the portal. But there's 2 sides to the portal, right? There's 2 sides to the portal. Let me tell you something. Those same guys may hit the portal and may come back home because they get out there and realize, oh, wait a minute. They just hired, we just hired X coach or Y coach. This guy runs an offense. He just called me. I'm in the portal. He called me before the portal. I mean, guys, I tell folks that I don't get sideways. I'm on a thread on X with about 25 dudes with various capacities and degrees related to the program. Don't get so high and so low on kids hitting the portal and this and that and the other, right? Dude, we had kids the last couple years go to the portal and come back. And we had a couple kids go to the portal that wish they hadn't, because once they got out there, we may have gotten better because of that. So that portal, it ain't exactly all, it ain't what it's cracked up to be. Now, for some kids, it worked out great. And honestly, if it's not a fit at Coastal, you go hope they find a fit somewhere else, right? Sincerely. But I think having Scott in place, also I think having Trey Carter, CJ Shrimp, and Grayson McCall in that building also matter. I cannot stress enough, as being a former player, having 3 former players that are in relative age of these kids in that room, Joe and Chili. I think it matters. They can look, Grayson McCall and Trey Carter can go to them and say, hey, guys, dude, we hit the portal. We know what you're about to go through. Here's why you should stay here. Like, let that sink in. They can utilize the experience with Jamie and transferring and going somewhere else. This is what they promised. This is what was not delivered on. That's real life experience that, let's be honest, we didn't have that in that building before. So you got those 3 young men plus Scott plus Chance Miller. And that's not a knock on the other coaches, but to me, Jody, your comment about Scott, that's what comes to mind, is we're able to keep it consistent, right? We're able to keep our hands on these kids and a voice in their ear saying, hey, we're going to be okay. We made a decision for the betterment of the program. We're going to be okay. Like, just trust us. And that's why I think someone like Osiris staying, Joe, or Chili, to your point, he's signaling to other kids. Now you can get him on the phone with other recruits in the next signing period and say, dude, I came here because of culture. I came here because there's something going to happen here, and you better get here because you're going to want to be a part of it. That's how you sell it.
And going through some of these bios, Joe and TD, I've noticed a couple of points about some of the guys in their athleticism and some of the just general points about him.
Got some local
Like
kids too, man.
Lopez, for example, guys, he is the state's all-time leader in career passing touchdowns with 123, and he runs a 4.5 40. As I was going through and noticing some other things here, the Stephen Aristil that I messed up a while ago from Ellington, Florida. Uh, this was something I thought was interesting. He is a multi-sport athlete. He threw the shot put at 40 feet 11 inches, discus at 92 feet 9 inches, and he's known for his work ethic. This is coming from the press release. Guys, he balanced football with a job at Dunkin' Donuts during the football season. So they say he's playing with passion and relentless effort. I feel like if he gets on the field, guys, I'm just seeing like some kind of donut instead of pancake blocks. We could use donuts for him, maybe. I don't know. Just throwing that out. Yeah, TD, we did have a couple of guys who were local. The Patterson linebacker from West Florence High School. One thing they said about him in his quick bio was that he was somebody who affected the quarterback on every play. He had 94 tackles, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions as a senior, and he is rated as a 3-star by multiple media outlets. So that's Romello Patterson from West Florence High School. The guy from Anderson, Zeke Marshall, played mostly as a safety, but he did lead his team in Anderson with 51 tackles, 14 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. He's also a 2-time state champion. It has him listed as a Raven Gap school, but I think it might have been a homeschool situation where he might have played it at a local high school, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that one. It doesn't say in the bio here for us, but we've got some guys who bring to the table, Joe, some interesting stats and some things about them that they're bringing to the table. And you were talking about culture earlier, Joe, and I love that that's your word. These guys are a part of what that culture means too, because whatever you're bringing to the table, that's who you are. And that's something that as these young guys join us, Joe, that's moldable things that the next head coach is going to have at his disposal to bring them along into the system.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think these are quality players, and whoever the new coach is and comes in and establishes the culture, the challenge will be to get these guys to fit to that, right? I mean, because that's ultimately a big part of whether you're going to be successful or not. And I know the numbers aren't huge today, but it's really fascinating because I was thinking about this today about how high school recruiting used to be like this massive industry, and you had one signing day, and that was the first Wednesday of February, and then enough people started getting involved and clamoring about wanting an early signing day, which is, and then they went to that, which is a day like today, and then of course then you had the advent of the portal, which almost kind of makes it like, well, if you sign a bunch of guys, great. If you don't, whatever. I mean, because you've got portal, then you got another signing day coming up and whatnot. But I think the biggest thing, and we've talked about this, was to keep a hold of a couple of these guys. And I really do believe, just kind of reiterating what we've already talked about, Chance getting involved, Scott Aligo getting involved and saying, hey, look, yeah, we've got a coaching change, but fear not. We're going to take care of you. We're going to get the best guy in here. If NIL is involved with some of these kids, which it probably is, we're going to take care of you. And we're competitive in our league with NIL. If anybody is not, kind of worried about that, we're very competitive with the NIL that we have at our disposal and that we pay kids with, right? It sounds kind of weird, right? Paying them that kind of stuff. But I mean, we're competitive with that. But it's a good class, and hopefully, I haven't given up on high school recruiting and developing kids. I think that is I've heard a lot of stuff about, well, you just can't do that. Yeah, I think you can still do that. I think you absolutely can still do that. I think you can develop kids, and if they go somewhere, we've seen, to TD's point, we've seen a handful of kids leave in the last several years, and a couple of them did good for themselves. Willie Lampkin did good for himself. Josiah Stewart did good for himself. Braden Bennett, I don't know. I don't, Jared Brown. I mean, there you had a couple of success stories. Then you had a couple of kids who thought it was grass green or elsewhere. It didn't work out. So I mean, you got to really kind of be careful if you come here and you get developed. And people start throwing out a whole bunch of money at you, you can develop for the NFL in Conway just as easily as you can anywhere else.
And people
we've
know
seen
when
it
you hear
before.
that, we're not being critical, right? To
No,
Joe's
I
point, we're
mean,
not being critical.
yeah,
Every man makes his decision. You stick with it.
yeah, exactly. And you can develop here and go to the league just like anybody. And look at Isaiah Likely, right? I mean, look at the number of kids we've had go. So anyway, I think it's a good thing today to keep hold of these guys. And
Mm-hmm.
it will be interesting to see how they fit in. And of course, we got the portal coming up. And again, you have some time to work on some of these guys, right? Who think coaching change or the current guys are going to leave, but maybe not. Give them a little bit of time. Portal doesn't open until after the start of the year, and that's why I think that we'll see something. I have no clue. Hopefully soon that Chance will make an announcement. We'll see the white smoke, as it were. We'll have something on board. So,
I literally was thinking of when we find out, when he gives us a heads up, like put the white smoke out on.
He should do that. And we know he listens to this show. Chance, tweet out a white smoke thing in the Vatican when it's time to make the announcement.
Dude,
I've got one last thing about the recruiting class. I just came across this. The Garrett Orgus linebacker, the 6'4", 197 player out of Vicksburg, Mississippi, played at Pearl River Community College.
Mm-hmm.
He is ranked the number 3 JUCO linebacker in the nation.
Yep.
That's awesome. We need
one of the top 20. One of the top 20 or 25 JUCO guys coming out too. I saw that too.
Need awesome. Some help over there.
Need guys here for 2 years or more, right? That's the thing is you get a JUCO guy, some only come out with a year, some come out with 2.
Well,
right?
Dude,
who knows? But
I mean, Samari Collier came here with 1 year ostensibly. Hopefully he's working on another one, and hopefully if he gets it, he'll stay here. So who knows what the rules are these days, man? It's hard to even keep up with all that stuff. Hopefully at least 2,
That'd be great.
That'd be wonderful.
So real quick, as we wrap up, hoops update, men fall tonight to USC Upstate in overtime. Joe and I were watching it as we were recording. They were up big at one point, fell in overtime 85-78. I don't have any stats because stats have not been posted yet. We were just live with it a second ago.
We shot 37% from the floor. That's probably that, and 85-78 are the 2 stats you probably need to know. But
yeah,
we didn't shoot better than 40%. And as I sat here and watched this, we had a 13-point lead, and I turned this thing on. Couldn't make anything. Couldn't make any shots. You don't make shots, you're not winning.
I looked over my shoulder one time, Joe. It was 65-65, and we were about to inbound it on our end of the floor. Upstate tightened up on defense, and we threw it away to them. And if our guy hadn't almost tackled their point guard with the ball with no time left, he might have had a chance to get a shot off. So we didn't play well at all down the stretch there. But Joe, if you're looking to do well down the stretch and you're hungry, where's a place you can go to continue your culinary success?
Well, see, I'm wearing the shirt tonight, Hanley's Pub and Grub, right? The official pub of the Strut podcast located in Carolina Forest. Hanley's Pub, CCU class of 2002. We will CC you at your local pub. Hanley's in Carolina Forest, 3873 Renee Drive, Myrtle Beach. You can give them a shout, 843-903-4904. Again, Hanley's, all kind of great food and drink specials and whatnot. Great place to gather up, watch a game, hang out. Love going to Hanley's when I'm over in that part of the world. So check it out, Hanley's Pub.
Joe, you just had a blog that dropped also.
Yes, I did. I had a blog that dropped a very little bit, and you can find it at strutpodcast.com. My after further review that I did all during football season. Got to figure out what I'm going to do going forward now that we get into basketball and the games are going to be whenever they are during the week. So I'll try to get some weekly content up in some way, shape, form, fashion, or otherwise, but talking just a very little bit about the game, and then some things I'd like to see in a coach. Not an all-encompassing list, but 3 points, three characteristics I'd like to see in the new head football coach.
I'm still counting down the top 10 milestone games. I just put up number 6. Today is Wednesday, so I'm looking at maybe tomorrow, Thursday, putting up milestone game number 5. I'd love to get feedback on that one. So when you read it, if you read it, tweet at me, at the strut, whatever. Let me know what you think. I've gotten some comments via text message about what they think about the countdown so far. And guys, I've kind of stirred some controversy, but I'm kind of okay with that, to be honest with you, because there's been a couple of comments. Why'd you put that one at number 8? Well, you know what? It's my countdown. You get you a podcast, you get you a blog, and then you go do a milestone countdown, and then we'll be okay, right?
That's what you're supposed to do, Chili. It's all about engagement and getting hits and people talking, people
Hey, ask
arguing.
him
That's
why,
what it's
man.
about.
Hey, I tell you what, though, the one thing that I can appreciate is everybody has a top 10, but not everybody has a number 1 realtor that they can use to find a home along the coast. But we do. We do it. Dan Sign. For me, hey, I'm proud to say that Dan he's a proud supporter of the Strut Podcast. Dan's over there at Dunes Realty Sales in Garden City. He's a proud coastal alum, class of 2001. From oceanfront condos to family homes, he's your go-to resource, for Myrtle Beach real estate. Visit dansignrealtor.com, also at the bottom of the YouTube channel if you were watching, or call him at 843-455-6319. Dan Sign, real estate done right, helping you find your place at the beach.
Before we get a shot and stuff and get out of here, I've got to make this point that when TD, you self-segued into that ad, and Joe and I kind of bookend you by doing this. So I'm going to go back and freeze that picture. That's going to be our new picture for the strut, because there's TD just smiling, and Joe and I are presenting him to everybody else. It was totally beautiful, Joe. You're going to see that later on.
That was so organic too. That's such a great organic moment that just kind of happened.
Man, you were sitting on the top 10 thing, and I was like, dude, just once he gives me the moment, I just got my perfect way to
Well, now you know how we feel when you're talking, TD.
Oh, man. Hey, if I don't show the coastal tree, my wife's going to be upset.
Show the coastal tree.
Show the coastal tree. There we go.
A strut tradition.
I need to see up top. I need to see the thing going around. That's like last year.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hold on. Here he comes.
I love that. That's awesome. I need to
Old Santa Claus
tree
with my master's photo in the background now.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, dude.
That's great.
All right, y'all. Let's get a shot and sip and get out of here. We will maybe see you on Sunday. There's nothing really to talk about this coming Sunday, is there? I mean,
no, we might have a coaching hire.
Okay, there is that.
If that happens, heck, we might
even hear from us.
We might have to do an emergency, honestly. But
Chance, do me a favor. Don't do it on a Friday. Don't do it on a Friday.
Hey, thanks for Teagan too for joining us tonight. That was a great segment with Teagan Brown. We appreciate her coming on.
BD's going to join though. He has committed to join.
Yeah.
He's made a commitment to the pod to join, so we're real excited about that.
Yeah, it'd be fun if we can get him right after the announcement too. Like if we have to do a Friday, Saturday quick one to talk about whoever the next head coach is. Well, Brandon Dunn can come in and join us, because I love what he tweets out. He's critical and supportive at the same time, and I like honest. What he does. And I just like Brandon's style.
A lot of what he says has validity, and that's when he was reporting on stuff early in the season, he was 100% right about it.
Well, having said all that, let's get a shots up, guys. We'll call the show.